Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first episode of the PalmettoBoyz Podcast, a great place to talk about the Clemson Tigers and the South Carolina Gamecocks. And on this episode, I will be giving my takeaways from the 2024 Clemson football spring game that happened on April 6th. But before we get into the episode, I want to say a couple things first. Number one, content has begun on this channel. Today is the day we kick off our podcast on this channel. While this specific show today is a loner, usually I will have guests on these shows. And I will be joined by a guest tonight as we talk about the upcoming Garnet and Black spring game. Definitely looking forward to that one. But this is a show that is about the Clemson Tigers and the South Carolina Gamecocks, where I break down the state of South Carolina. And me personally on these shows, I'm going to be kind of a neutral party, right? I'm going to give my best unbiased takeaways for both teams, and I'm going to call it for how I see it. I'm not going to sugarcoat anything, and I'm going to be real with you guys. If I feel something is, not right, I'm going to call it as I see it. So this is not the place for sunshine pumpers in a way. So, if you don't want to hear that, things need to get better, things aren't going so well, this probably isn't the show for you. Just going to go ahead and get that out of the way because obviously what we're going to be talking about in a few minutes, not everything went very well. But anyways, on April 6th, the Clemson Tigers hosted their orange and white spring game. And before I give my thoughts on it, I want to say this. I understand that this is a spring game, right? This is only a spring game. I understand that. You can't learn absolutely everything from a spring game. It's a glorified scrimmage, a glorified practice. That is what it is. But there are things you can learn from the spring game. There are things you can see. And I'm just going to talk. I'm not making any crazy predictions based on a spring game. I think that's absolutely nuts, in my opinion. But I'm just going to call it as I saw it. Let's start with the positives. Number one, Clemson's defense. Incredible. I mean, was there really any doubt? You lose Jeremiah Trotter. You lose Nate Wiggins. Obviously, those are big losses. But if there's one player on the defensive end that I'm very excited to see, Sammy Brown. I mean, this guy. I really believe this guy is going to be terrific for Clemson this season. I think he's an immediate impact player. I think he is. I mean, from his first play, he looked like he's going to be something special. And obviously, everyone was excited and is excited about Sammy Brown, as you should be. Obviously, a long way to go before the fall. And of course, you had the season, but I think he showed some very positive things in the spring game. And also, the defense pretty much lifted the Orange team to a 27-12 victory. You think about it. 14 tackles for loss, 9 sacks, and I believe it was 2 turnovers, one of which was a pick six. Another player I want to talk about on the defensive side of the ball. Now, this one's a little tricky to pronounce, so forgive me if I mispronounce it. One of y'all can correct me in the comment sections, but I want to think it's Defilen Green. 4 sacks. Pretty incredible day. And for Team White, we had Sammy Brown and Wade Woodez for 8 tackles each. Pretty much same story for quite a while for the Clemson Tigers. Defense is absolutely incredible. Going to give you a chance to win a lot of football games this year. And now we got to move on to what everybody is talking about. And it really seems like it's been the focal point for the Clemson Tigers the last few years. The offense. Now, to be fair, before I give my critiques and thoughts, to be fair, Clemson had a lot of offensive weapons out in this game. Jake Brenningstool was not playing. Phil Moffitt was not playing. Tyler Brown was not playing. You had a lot of starters out. So, of course, not everything is going to look too flashy when that happens, but there were concerning things on the offensive side of the ball yet again. But we will start with the positives, because there were some positive things to take away from the offense. Number one, Bryant Wesco. Dude looks like the real deal. an insanely beautiful catch to accompany an insanely beautiful throw by Trent Pierman, who we will get to in a minute. That was an amazing play on the ball. And that right there, I genuinely think it's going to be exciting to see what this guy is going to bring to the Clemson offense. It's not like the Clemson Tigers wide receiver room has lacked talent, but they have struggled to get playmakers. They struggled to get going since T. Higgins left. Let's just call it for what it is. And Bryant Wesco showed that he can be that playmaker for the wide receiver room. Now, obviously, we saw Tyler Brown step up last year, and I do think he's going to continue to make an impact at Clemson. Antonio Williams is back. Can he stay healthy? Can Adam Randall stay healthy? There are questions for the wide receiver room, but I do believe that if Bryant Wesco can continue to play like that, he's going to be a big-time playmaker for that Clemson wide receiver room. I think every Clemson fan should be excited to see what this guy is going to do. I don't want to hype him up too much from a spring game, but let's just call it for what it is. Dude's a playmaker. He's going to give you a chance in the Valley this year. He's going to make some plays. I think Dominic Thomas showed some pretty positive signs for the Clemson running back room. I don't think the running game was anything flashy, obviously. And we'll get to the offensive line in a minute. Trust me, we will. But I think he showed you some promising things. Obviously, Phil Maffa didn't play, and he's going to be the starting running back, right? But it is important to see how a guy like Dominic Thomas would be if, unfortunately, Phil Maffa went down, which we all hope does not happen. But if it does, you're going to need to see how a guy like that would step up. Now we're going to get to the offensive line in the quarterback situation, which everyone is talking about. And before anybody says, oh, you guys are overreacting, it's just a spring game, you can't learn anything in a spring game, let's just call it for what it is, guys. Once again, the quarterback room and the offensive line for the Clemson Tigers is concerning. It's just a spring game. It's concerning. The best looking quarterback of the spring game was Trent Pierman. Not Cade Klubnik, not Christopher Vizina. It was Trent Pierman. Trent Pierman brought a dynamic to that offense. And I am not advocating that he should start over Klubnik. I'm not. I'm not saying bench Klubnik, start Trent Pierman. No. But I'm just saying, that dude brought a dynamic to that offense. And maybe it was just a one-day thing. Maybe it was. But let's just call it for what it is, man. He looked like the best quarterback on that day. Again, I'm not saying he should be a starting quarterback over Klubnik, but I think he should be given a chance this season. I think we should see him in a lot of situations if things go south with Cade Klubnik. I'm just saying. That's my opinion. You can think I'm going a little too you-know-what if you want to. Whatever. But I'm just saying, let's call it for what it is. Trent Pierman looked like the best quarterback on that team during the spring game. Now, as for Cade Klubnik, I did see some promising signs from Cade Klubnik. I did see a little bit of improvement, but what's concerning is we also saw quite a lot of the same as well. Bad decisions, throwing into double and triple coverage, the interceptions, just these bad forced habits that have made Tiger fans just scratch their head like, what is wrong with Cade Klubnik? What is he doing? Now, there is still time for him to fix these mistakes and bad habits, but what's so concerning to me is that it doesn't look like much has changed. And I will say this, I don't blame Cade Klubnik alone for this. Can he make better decisions under pressure? Yes. But guys, when your offensive line isn't doing you much favors, there's only so much a quarterback can do. And I'm actually concerned about this offensive line again. Now, can they get better? Sure. You brought in Matt Luke for that reason. And he's a good coach. He's going to help the Clemson offensive line in time. He's got to fix everything in 1 year, and I don't think it's going to be fixed in 1 year. Now, I'm not trying to put down this offensive line as like, oh, it's so freaking bad that, like, oh my God, it's like horrifically damaged. But there are things that need to be fixed for sure. They have to get better. They allowed a lot of linemen to get in the face of the quarterbacks. Now, I will say this about the sacks in the spring game, right? How much can you fairly judge about sacks in the spring game, right? Because all you got to do is touch someone in the spring game, right? And we all know you're not going to bring someone down by just touching them in a real game, right? But still, blocking could be better. Still some improvements needed on that offensive line because it's a spring game, right? But in an actual game, especially week 1 against Georgia, my God. That's all I'm going to say. The offensive line I saw, it wasn't terrible, but it also wasn't great. Can be better. The quarterback play, still questionable. Questionable decisions, turnovers. Christopher Vizina with a pick 6. Now, I will say, Jamal Anderson, beautiful. Beautiful. The awareness, the quickness at the line of scrimmage to get that football and get it for a touchdown. I mean, great playmaker. Trent Pierman, though, like I said, looked like the better quarterback of the day, but I'm not suggesting he starts against Georgia. Absolutely not. I still believe you roll with Cade Klubnik. Because a lot can change with a quarterback. One day they play on fire, the next they look like they don't know what they're doing. They're human. But all I'm going to say is, if things go south with Cade Klubnik this season, I believe Trent Pierman should be given a shot to show what he can do. You can say, well, this guy's overreacting. I'm not overreacting. Anyone who was at that game and saw that game clearly could see what I saw. Trent Pierman made that offense move. He threw some incredible passes. He looked way better than both of those other quarterbacks. Just call it for what it is, folks. So, pretty much my takeaway. Defense, incredible. Right? Defense is incredible yet again for Clemson. Offense, a lot of work needs to be done. Yes, you were down your starters. Most starters, but I mean, still a lot of work that needs to be done. A lot of things need to improve with that Clemson offense, especially before you face off against the Georgia Bulldogs. Those are basically my takeaways. So let me know what you think. Am I overreacting? Am I putting too much into a spring game? Or am I giving a fair analysis on what I saw? You be the judge and you tell me in the comments section. I welcome criticism and all comments. Thank you all for listening. To our Gamecock fans here, stay tuned for tonight as me and a guest talk about the Garnet and Black spring game and what to see and watch for this weekend as the Gamecocks return to Williams-Brice Stadium for the Garnet and Black spring game under the lights at Williams-Brice. Thank you all so much for listening, and see you later.